Good morning. Can we please do a sound check because my microphone is playing up. Can everyone hear okay? Is it too loud, too soft? Sounds fine. It's not clipping? Okay, good. Yeah, the microphone just stopped working. I don't know. Crazy. It must have got blown up with the SN11, which I only just found out about reading the chat as it went past while I was waiting. So I didn't get to see it last night. And so I quickly watched it this morning, and then, yeah, it just froze and didn't know what happened. So it blew up, did it? It self-destructed? Very funny, Fred. Hey, MJT, Epic Trio. I'm good. How are you guys? It went kablooey. Oh, wow. Do they know why? Don't know. They pulled the SD card out while it was running. Well, silly. They shouldn't have been running a Raspberry Pi 3, should they? They lost it in a fog and it turned up in San Diego. Okay, so, hello everybody. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So what are we disagreeing on today? I don't know, there will be actually. I've got an interesting topic for disagreement. Not for disagreement, but for heated discussion. But anyway, let's start off with, where did I put that? Hang on. I need to find something. Wow. Unorganized much? Yes. Okay, I have a shed. This is my new shed. So on the right of my shed, or might be your left, I don't know, that's my office. That's the window I'm sitting at right now. You can see my mouse moving. This is not live, obviously. And this is my new shed. And the new shed is 1.8 meters wide by 4.2 meters long. Yes! So this is for storage, but it means I can get some stuff from the garage out into this, as well as some other stuff that's been out of the garage that has needed storage. And I can't use it yet. I can't use it for 4 days because the concrete's got to dry. It's using a rebatted slab. So the shed was built and then the concrete was poured inside it to make sure that it all is sealed up. Had my phone connected during what? Oh, is that why the rocket blew up? So that's the first bit of exciting news. I thought I'd just share that. Yay. And let's go back to here. We'll get to that in a moment. So I finally got my shed. Hello, Cable Tie. You're late. Well, I'm early. Yes, 6:30 is... it may get worse. We'll talk about that soon because daylight savings changes in a week for us. And then I have to decide what I'm going to do. Actually, let's quickly do the roll call before these names get out of hand. Yeah, metal shed. Okay, so Adam, good morning. Chris, Michael. God, there was a lot of chat this morning. Embedded Hobbyist, hello. John, hi. Peter, Henrik. Paul. And, wow. It was a full-on discussion about displays, some type of displays this morning, which I missed. Andy Calloway, hello. David SR. Hello, Jay. Hey, Deshipu. Scrolling. Mr. Fred Flintstone, good morning. What? When it is a jar. When is the door not a drawer? When is a jar? Right, okay, wow. We're doing the dad jokes this morning, are we? I missed that. Jonathan London, hello. I'm still looking through names. Sorry, Mr. Tadar98, hi. Johnny, good morning. Jablatronics, hello. Rota. Yasir, hello. Shaq, hi. Jerker. Brayden is here. Andy's here. That's Andy Day, Andy. Not Andy Calloway, Andy. Peter, hello. Hello, Jason. Photochromax. Tafsy. Hello, Ian. So I was just trying to read what Fred was just writing. That was pretty funny. How I broke my brain. It was broken long before this. Thanks, Jay. Yeah, my brain's been broken a while, I think. Hello, Graham. Hi, Johan. And MJT, Epic Trio. Yes, hello, Kai. Lone Tech, hello. Hey, Renee. X Micron. Emery, hi. I should just spray my office in fog, and then I can just do my whole stream and tell you all about what I'm showing you, but you can't see it. And then at any point I can self-destruct. I don't know where that came from. Still scrolling, by the way. Hello, Carsten. And Cable Tie. Yes, hello. It is too early, I know. Okay, it jumped. Kevin, hi. Micropezzi. Alex Stanch. Oop, don't know how to pronounce it, Alex. But hello, welcome. It's your first time. Yay. It's great you could join. Hey, Kevin. Okay, I think I got everyone. I might have missed some people. Apologies if I did. Johan's in Centurion, South Africa. Good eat. I don't know what time it is there. Okay. Oh, Rob's here. Hello, Rob. So, okay. I don't know where to start. We'll get to the TinyDIGIT in a second. I'm looking at my floor. I've got mail, but I don't want to open it yet because I've got more mail coming. I want to wait. I need to open it all together because they're all part of something. So, hello, Gary. Did I leave enough space for the cat on the couch? Yeah, the couch is full again. The couch is full. I am so unprepared. I got myself some PCB holders. You want to see these? These are anti-static racks for holding PCBs. So I used to pile my PCBs in stacks, and now they're on my little TinyDIGIT. Sounds like a fine name for someone. Hello, Bruce. Cats will just knock anything on the couch. Yeah, I don't have any cats. Anti what? It's anti-ESD, meaning it doesn't exist. No, it exists. Anyway. Well, okay, so I got some of those. That's pretty cool. You ready for this, everyone? I bet you won't guess what's in here. Can anyone guess what's in this? I'll put it on the floor. I can't read the chat when I'm standing there. No, I didn't print those racks. I was going to print myself some racks. I found those racks like locally I could buy, and then I found the same ones in China, and I bought them from China. And can I tell you, I got them from AliExpress, and they got here in 5 days. Just AliExpress shipping. 5 days. It's a body in a bag. Overcomplex salmon-able sleeping bag. Are you suggesting I overcomplicate things? It's a mouse mat from Linus. Yeah. Oh, Johnny got it. It's an ESD mat. It's an ESD mat for my bench with all the goodies, wrist straps, and everything else. ESDing my bench. Why? Because I should. So I am. So, And I'm only doing it because I was buying some other stuff. I got myself something new, which I'll talk about maybe. And because I was getting it shipped anyway from this company, and they had some stuff on special. I'm not converted. So let's be clear. ESD is a thing. I've never had any issues that I know of with ESD. But sometimes you don't know about issues with ESD till later. So it's the right thing to do. I'm going to ESD my whole... I haven't decided which desk yet. ESD my whole desk. And I'm also thinking of getting the shoe strappy stuff, things as well. Because for some reason, I sometimes get zapped just on my Prusa. I could be my Prusa, I don't know. Extrasensory deception. Yeah, it is a deception. It is a deception. Hey Mike, good morning. Do I have a problem with the chip shortage? I don't right now because I bought a stack of stuff. I may in the future, yes. I managed to get some more LDOs to tide me over a little while. But yes, I spent a lot of money over a couple of weeks ago to make sure that I had everything I needed, at least for a few months worth of stock. It really depends on how long this thing's going to last. Hello, Mr. DIY. And who else did I miss? Anyone? No, I bought all this stuff locally. So I'm going to do a video of the other thing I bought. I can tell you all, I got a new soldering iron and I did not buy a Hacko. You can buy ESD spray for carpet. I've got ESD spray for the carpet and it doesn't work. It works for a couple of days and then it doesn't work. And I think it's it's my shoes. I have to wear special shoes at the moment. Long story. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. So I've got a bad toe, and I wear rocker shoes. We'll go into it just quickly. So, not that I've been walking or running recently, but I'm taking my shoe off. But I wear shoes. God, they're filthy. You see how they're bent? These are actually wearing out a bit. But you see how they're called rocker shoes. And they're designed that it keeps my toe off. When I'm walking or when I'm running, it doesn't put pressure on my toes. They are boats. Yeah, they're pretty big. Because I've got severe arthritis and I've got a very angry left big toe. To the point where when I annoy it, I can't walk anymore. For very extended periods of time. So I'm really limited on the shoes that I can wear, like these types of rocker shoes, and they're not very static friendly. But yeah, I've tried a few different sprays, Ian, and they last like a week, 4 days, 5 days, and then they don't, and then I get zappy again. I have tile. Yeah, you can buy special ground mats and stuff. I looked into it. The problem is you can't lay it on the carpet, or you can, but I can't put the chairs on it then, right? It's too spongy. I'd have to rip all the carpet off and then relay down proper anti-static matting that you can get. You can buy just small pieces of it, but that doesn't work for me. Like my space is too big, and I'm working at all the different areas, so I need something that's going to do it properly. Like there's no point having anti-static where I'm sitting right now on the floor, and then I get up, and when I walk over to there, I build up static on my shoes, right? So damn pure in winter we have no ESD issues. You're very lucky. So I think for me it's specific to my shoes, because I can wear other shoes and not have a problem at all. It's just these. Anyway, check out something called Grounding for Health. It's about having your body, feet in contact with dirt, earth. Do you want me to sprinkle just dirt all over my floor in here, Jay? Is that what you're implying? Hey, Aaron. Right, so I was going to ground myself with a long cable, and you know what the problem is? I'm going to trip over and fall and crack my head open. Okay, I bought myself a new iron. No, not Crocs. I can't wear Crocs. No, I need to have my toe lifted off. I can't put my toe on the ground. One day I'll take off my shoe and show you my toe. It's not happy. Yeah, a hazmat suit. I'm going to do all my work in a hazmat suit. So one of the reasons I am ESDing is I'm preparing my space. Slippers. Preparing my space to be able to potentially bring other people in. Potentially. Don't know what's happening there yet right now. So I'm trying to... I don't even know what the right word is. Improve my working area, if that makes sense. Please don't do what? Put dirt all over the floor? It's a therapy. Instead of walking outside on shoes, walk on bare feet. Ah, right. Sure, I can't do that. I can't walk bare feet with my toe. I can't even walk... I honestly, anything I wear on my feet or don't put anything on my feet aggravates my toe within minutes, and then I'm in trouble. So the wireless grounding wrist strap, sure. Cubicles. Anyway, no one's even asked me about my iron. I can't believe it. No one's guessed what I got. Is there a possibility of surgery? The specialist says that any surgery is going to be way more problematic than any good it's going to do. Not really. See, Aaron's on it. No, not a Weller. I didn't get a Weller amputated. I have 9 other good toes. Unfortunately, the big toes are really important. Ooh, hey Capo Steve. Yes, I got a JBC. Does John know? Yes, John knows. Yes, we were discussing it there, weren't we? Yeah, I got a JBC. I always wanted a JBC. That was what I wanted. My God, they're expensive. Holy shit, they're expensive. But the company where I bought them from had them on sale, and they were like 25% off, and it only worked out $100 more than a Hacko. See, on Making It Rain. Is it a steam iron? What? I've already got a TS100. Trouser press. What? Hey, Intimate Tech. What do you mean I'm making it rain? What? I don't understand. I got some splint things, but it's just to straighten out. Yeah, no, this is not a splint thing. So on the top of my knuckle of my big toe, it's like there's so much like build up of scar tissue and stuff inside the joint. Like it's been damaged. I damaged it somehow, and it's just complete arthritis, and like on the joint, and it's just absolute insane how painful it is. So yeah, I replaced my Hacko with a JVC, huge improvement. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Hackos. I was looking at getting an FX951, which is the higher end one. Well, it's still in a box. I want to do a video unboxing, I think. So, but I got a Hacko. I got the JBC, and I got a range of different tips. The cartridges, they come separately, including some two different micro tips, like really small, 0.3 millimeter, so I can do really fine pitch stuff. Yeah, they can't solve my toe. My toe's never going to solve. It'll never get better, but it will get worse. And so my shoes and everything else is all about prolonging how long it takes for it to get worse. Yeah, I had that same offer on my shoulders. I've got degenerative arthritis in my shoulders, both sides. They were also talking about, they gave me the option of I get surgery where they cut away the arthritis. In my case, it wasn't a few centimeters. It was a millimeter, a couple of millimeters of the scarring and the arthritis, and then the scar tissue, and then, but they said that any surgery they do on my shoulders will reduce how much strength I have above my shoulders, right? Like I'll get deterioration on what I can do with my arms. So they said at my age, it's not worth doing. And the same with my toe. They said, don't do surgery on your foot until you can't walk. Like even though I'm 50, still too young to do any type of surgery like that on my toe, because it's going to reduce what I can do with my foot from then onwards. I clearly I attract arthritis or something. I don't know. I've been very active my whole life, and I've probably just overdone and hurt myself. $461. How much did I pay for the JBC? $590 something, but it depends which JBC you're talking about. Okay, are you talking about $461 US or Aussie? I'm assuming you're talking about the JBC. So the one I got was, hang on, let me bring it up. God, I can't even type. Yeah, like what you get once you start operating on joints, it's downhill from there. Thanks, Sean. Some days I don't feel very good at all for 50, let me tell you. I'm just signing in. Yeah, the 2BQF is what I got. Yep, hang on, I'm pretty sure. How do I get to my account? To my... Okay, I really can't. I'm struggling this morning. Sorry. Yep, so this is what I got, and it's on special, which is why I did it. So it's this one here. So normally $790. Their website says $416 US. Yeah, I got it through Mechatronics. It's on special. I didn't look. I maybe could have found it cheaper somewhere else. I don't know. So I was about to buy the Hacko, and some folks on a Discord server were pushing me towards the JBC. And the last time I looked at JBCs, they were like $1,200–1,300. And because I was looking at their micro stations and stuff. And so these are their base models, like the latest version, but base model. YouTube declared 140 high picture quality today. Wow. Try refreshing your browser. So anyway, that's the unit. I only got it with 4 cartridges. It's got the quick change cartridge thing. So apparently you can literally just get the iron, you can stick it in, disconnect a cartridge and plug the next cartridge in, and then use it. They're really nice irons. This iron should last me forever. So I'm pretty excited about that, and I got a range of tips, as I said, just 4 different tips, 2 medium largish ones, and then 2 micro ones. And it was similar to what I was going to get for the Hacko. It only worked out $150 more than the Hacko because they're on special. So it was about like $800 all up, $850 all up, including the cartridges. I only got the normal handle. I didn't get the micro pen handle because... So there's 2 versions. It's kind of weird. They look identical, but this one they call the precision version, and I think it's got a smaller pen, and it uses I think it uses smaller cartridges. So the whole point is with them is so with an iron, right? Let me just go back to here. This is a terrible example of an iron for doing fine work. So an iron is all about, for doing fine work, you need the shortest distance from your fingers to the tip. The longer it is, the harder it is to do detailed work, right? You almost want it, like with a pen. Like, try writing like this compared to writing like this, right? You want to get your fingers as close to the end of the pen as possible when you're writing to do the finest work. And it's exactly the same with an iron. And so the precision version of their iron uses a slightly thinner handle and it uses smaller, shorter cartridges, right? The 210 I might like it better, but that one isn't as good for just normal soldering. Now I can just buy the handset and cartridges and use the same iron, right? I don't believe there's anything different with the base station. I believe it's just the handset. So I can definitely buy one in the future. But I got some really good tips for the one I got, and the distance from handle to tip is already half the length of what I've got right now. So yeah, thanks Mike, especially if I'm 50 and my hand's not as steady as it used to be. The 210 doesn't have the thermal capacity, absolutely, which is why it's not as good for just general soldering. Like, when I need to solder up a whole bunch of reflow masters, I've got stacks of like normal size pin header things to solder. I don't want to be using a micro tip, right? I want to be using a decent thickness iron tip. So that's why I did that. And I'll see how it goes. And I can always, as I said, buy another handpiece for it if I need to down the line. So that's exciting. But I'm going to open it up on a video maybe. Or maybe I'll just open it up one day and not do a video. I don't know. Hey, Bornak. Hold it like shown in the stock photography. Yeah. Here we go. I always hold my iron like this. Okay, you can't even see. Anyway, so that's exciting news. So I've been buying up a whole lot of stuff. I just kill that vein. What? Did they just... Wait, I missed something. Yeah, these ones are cartridges about between $40 and $80 per cartridge, but it's the whole cartridge. So it's not the tip that gets replaced; the whole cartridge gets replaced, including the heating element and everything else. Oh, you're talking something medical? Okay. Hey, Ev. No, I bought this, so I'm not drooling over anymore. It's sitting in a box behind me. I haven't opened it yet. It arrived yesterday. So anyway, that's exciting. But I need to clear my desk off and ESD it all put the mat down before I set the iron up and everything. And I still have to solve what I'm going to do with my hot air, because my current soldering station is iron and hot air, and it's large. Like, it's too large to leave on I don't have room on my desk to put that and the JBC, but a JBC hot air station is, holy shit, expensive. Shall we see how much a JB? Have a look at this. They're full on, really full on. I don't have to get a hot air station. So $3,475. No. $2,790. $2,300. That's $2,400 for a hot air station. I mean, seriously. Hey, K-More. Hey, Kevin. I'm blown away by how good the TS100 is. Yeah, the TS100 is great. I've got one over here on the side. But again, I need, like, when I'm, reworking stuff, when I'm working, like, when I'm trying to, clean up the edge of a QFN or something, I need something good. Hello, Rick. Yeah, that's a lot of hot air. I mean, I don't understand why they're so expensive. Like, full on. I mean, they're way better than mine. like what I've got right now. Sure, but yeah, that's just ridiculous. Look at it. Hang on. I can't zoom it in. I don't know why the pictures are so small. I got the 150 Eaton. Yeah, okay. What I need is a hot air station, like a standalone unit, but that's really narrow. Okay, let's... so I'm just going to move... So... Is this the one? Yeah, look how big it is though. That's the problem. I mean, that's the size of my current unit. I might as well just keep my current unit there. It's massive. I mean, so the Hacko one is more reasonable. Why is it not letting me search for Hacko hot air? Right. This is $800 for the Hacko. And it's a much smaller unit. Right, I'm assuming it's massive by looking at the unit size compared to the unit I've got sitting on my desk right now. It looks about the same. I'm just, yeah, it's just a limited on desk space. Because of my microscope, I'm limited on desk space. So I need a, there's a section about this wide that pretty much has to be clear, where I can't have equipment because my microscope is there and it needs to be able to move and swing and go back and forward, right? So yeah, it's quite wide. It's about that wide that I don't have space for stuff. So I could always take my my desoldering gun off my desk. I don't use it that often, but then it's a hassle to get it and set it up when I do need it. Like I used it the other day. I had an issue on a board, and it was just convenient to just grab it, like turn it on, grab it, and use it. So yeah. Which ones also take little space on the desk? The cheap Chinese hot air stations. Yeah, no, I've already got like that. I mean, that's what my current one is, right? And I actually want something better. I need something better. Like there are times when I'm using it for a long period and these are not good. Like you can smell they're burning, melting. They're not designed to be used for extended periods of time. I have a shallow shelf over my desk and put a ton of gear on that. Yeah, I've got a window there. I can't do that. On this side, I could. I'm actually thinking of moving all my stuff over to here. But I've got less depth here. Same size desk, but I've got an extra this much space to the window cavity here. So I can have stuff hanging off the back. I can't get my microscope over here because there's a wall there. Anyway. The plastic doesn't get hot. It's hard to explain. Well, it does. It's hard to explain. Like, you're holding the whole heating thing in the fan in your hand. Anyway, window. Who needs a window? I like working in front of the window because, like, when I'm straining my eyes, like, I can look up and I can, like, look at depth through the window and, you know, adjust my eyes. Anyway, can I post a link? Hang on, let me... Hang on, Capo Steve. You can now. It's cheaper to buy a new, bigger desk. Maybe. I've got enough desks. Like I could... Anyway. My desk in the back corner is a much deeper desk, but I don't want to be working down there. That's where I used to work. I much prefer working down over here. I could buy a lot of cheap ones for the same price as the... I wouldn't buy a JBC. I'm not going to spend $2,500 on a hot air station. Never, ever. Like, that's just ridiculous. I'd consider the Hacko, but I'd probably, even at $800, I'd still consider buying something cheaper first if I can buy it smaller. Right, that's what I've kind of got. That is mine. Well, cable tie. That's what I've got on my desk now. I don't have my webcam plugged in right now because I'm using that cable for the TinyDIGIT stuff. So I've got the station, the soldering iron and hot air station right here, right now. And it's been great, but the iron is not good enough to do fine tip stuff. Whenever I put a really fine tip on it, it destroys the tip, right? It's just not designed to do, there's the heat control on the iron is just not good enough. JBC do have combined units. They're $3,500. Yeah. Yeah, I switched I learned to do that when I was coding, when I was making games. If I have to focus too long on something really close, I'll pull my head away and I'll look somewhere else, change my depth, and then look somewhere further, change my depth. Otherwise you strain your eyes and you get headaches. For new cable for the webcam. Thanks, Johnny. Yeah, post the link again, Kepo Steve. You should be able to post a link now. Hey, Peter. What am I soldering? No, I'm not soldering 0402s. I'm reworking. If I need to rework something. Like a couple of weeks ago when I was trying to stick a little bit of excuse me, enamel wire onto a pad on a QFN. Like I just couldn't. Like I have no fine tips anymore on that iron because it destroys them all. A quick tier. What is this one? Okay. Open in a new window. Yeah, that's still too big. That's nice, but it's still too big. Interesting though that it's like a pen. It's quite a small handle on it. Can I zoom that picture in? That's quite interesting. I like how small the handle is. So the air is being generated in the unit, not in here. But you look at the footprint of that and the stand for it. That is quite nice though, I have to say. It's not big. How big is not big? Is there any dimensions? Specifications. Dimensions. 190 by 190 by 134. Really? Right, so that's pretty big. 20 centimeters wide. Or 19 centimeters wide. Hey, Zero himself. By 190. And that looks like just the base station. Because that looks square. A pen rather than a sausage. It looks really nice though. 250 pounds. I wonder if you can get them locally. I really like the look of that. Absolutely. It's not big and it's not clever. Yeah, this is hot air. Hey, Quixotic Geek. This is a hot air station. I like that. That might be much more comfortable to hold than this other one. $420. Where did you see that cable tie? Or you just convert it? Let's see. I wonder if Mectronic don't have them, do they? No. TR1. Was it? No. What's Greg tweeted? Yeah, I saw his I saw Greg's PCB. How cool is that, everyone? Greg. Google the model. Yeah, I will. I'm sure it's available somewhere in Australia. Now with curvy traces. Gotta love KiCad's curvy traces. So what is it? Quick 861DW. Quick 861DW. Well, they don't have, but see, that's what I meant by. I'm not saying this one, but that's what I meant by small. Like that's a smaller. Like looking at that hand piece, which is the same as my hand piece. It's exactly the same. And I look at that unit. That unit's about half the width of my current one. It's like it's half of my station. But I don't want like something like that. They're not good enough. Like not for long use. Are you drunk? I don't know. Emily's Discord messaged me. Okay, I've got my don't know whether it's going to pop up. Right, okay. Yeah, that's massive. Right. I mean, that's, oops. Compared to your Mac. I mean, that's massive. Sorry. Yeah. That's about as big as my current unit. That's also a soldering iron. When I was a kid, I used a blow lamp to get the logic chip off. Some of it even still worked. Yeah, that quick looked interesting, but again, it's the size of it that it's still pretty big. I know my requirements seem weird, but yeah, I've just again. So far, I'm really liking the other one, that other quick. This one, because the stand can sit on top, right? Yeah. Anyway, I'll work it out. Right, for now, I'll just leave this here. I've done enough buying right now. Now, just quickly, before I do time... Just quickly, here we go. I should stop saying the words just quickly. KSGER, hot air. Smallest I've seen. Hello, Jose. Let's just quickly... Yeah, like that's nice and narrow. And that's interesting. 700 watt. Could you even trust that? Right, that's the type of... What I was kind of looking for is something that size. But that's the same hair gun as what I've got now. That's the problem. I don't want that type of handpiece. Because the air's still being generated in the handpiece. And that's the problem with it. It's the same as what I've got handpiece wise. It might be a better plastic, I don't know. But that's the type of size unit I was looking for. Hey James. Interesting. They definitely look like nicer tips. Oh, picture inside. Anyway, okay, cool. Well, I've got lots of things to look through now. It is cute. And that would fit on my bench quite well. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that link. So, God, all over the place today. I'm going to definitely need another coffee before I even start on the TinyDIGIT. Hey, Kevin. Hi to anyone I haven't said hi to. Jacko, hello. So, one other thing I bought, and some of it's arrived already, but the rest of it's on the way, is I bought a whole bunch, finally, of extrusion. Can someone stick that on Discord? I'll stick this on Discord now. This Banggood link for you all. Just in the live stream. In my live streams. There you go. It's in there. I bought a whole bunch of extrusion and a whole lot of sets of T-slots and nuts and bolts and all sorts of things. I'm finally going to get back onto my optical inspection stuff, which has been sitting there patiently underneath some high quality camera for the Pi, and I'm finally going to get back onto that, at least as an experiment. I want to learn vision stuff. Whether I end up making something useful out of it or not, I don't know. That would be nice, but my aim is for learning to just basically learn some vision and machine learning stuff, which would be really good. So, yeah. And I assume everyone saw my latest Sam video. Oh, but you might not have seen. Did everyone see what I posted on Twitter yesterday? I should show you all that. Again, I'll quickly show you that. That's really cool. Very excited about what I posted on Twitter yesterday. Actually, I also did it on my in Discord. But in case you haven't seen it, I'll play it for you now because I'm excited by it. Actually, no, not that one. I don't know. No. Where did I put it? Wow. Oh, I know where it is. Right, this one. Okay. I can't remember who yeah, anyway. You ready? Hi, Sam.
Hello, unexpected maker.
Update code.
Telling rats to update their software.
So basically, I just told Sam, yeah, Sam's voice is terrible, but that's the limitation of the Raspberry Pi, unfortunately. Unless I use an online, something like AWS Poly or something else, which then I get, even though they got free tiers, I get billed per word and stuff. So it's over the air, but it's not normal over the air. It's not flashing firmware, it's updating code. So basically, I say to Sam, hey Sam, tell it to update. It sends a message to all the racks. All the racks go and they go and grab the latest code. So this is Python, right? MicroPython. So it's not refreshing the MicroPython on the board. It's grabbing the code. And it grabs the code, it downloads it, and it writes it down as underscore main.py instead of main.py. And then it checks the code and makes sure it's good. And then it backs up main.py with a timestamp, the current version of the code. So today's date and time. And then it renames underscore main.py to main.py, and then it reboots itself. So it backs itself up, downloads the code, checks it, backs itself up, updates the code, and reboots itself. All by itself by me asking it to. And I can also do that by pushing a button on them. So it basically means once my racks. I can just put my racks in the garage now, and I just keep one of them here on my desk for development. And whenever I want to update all the racks, I just tell Sam to update them, and they all go and grab the new code and update themselves. How wicked is that? And the reason that's really important is I never want to plug them into a computer anymore. Even though they've got USB on them to be able to flash them originally, the idea is that wherever they'll be sitting, they won't have access to a computer. Show of... Oh, is that show off? You calling me a show off? Thanks, James. Anyway, I'm really excited by that. So that was one of the last things I had to get in before I could stick it on my shelf, because I'm still evolving the code all the time. I'm still adding new functionality all the time. And I've started working on... It's not turned on right now, but I've got the Sam's touchscreen here. So for those that aren't aware, because people have been like, blah, 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 this is, voice is a terrible thing. Like, there's so much better ways of doing it, whatever. Sam also has a touchscreen interface that'll be in the garage, where I'll be able to interact with Sam via a Python GUI for the front end of Sam. And so there'll be functionality that Sam will have that will only be on the touchscreen, like teaching it words and stuff. But I can basically do other things, like, and so I've got the choice of using voice or using a touchscreen, and I need to build a case for all of this to sit in my office, in the garage, but I haven't designed that yet. But right now it's just sitting on my desk, and yeah. Thanks, Shaq. Yeah, it's working out really well. Now, what's interesting is it looks like one of my time of flight sensors on one rack has died. I was using it yesterday. I was coding and doing stuff, and all of a sudden, one sensor keeps firing like there's something in the way of it. And I thought maybe there was something on it, some dust or something, but there's not. So it'd be interesting to see how long these sensors last. Right, so people are saying stuff like, I'd probably equip it with a barcode reader too. But, sorry, Lone Tech, that makes no sense. A barcode reader is useless. It's useless for this. It doesn't make any sense. Sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but that's people thinking old school of how it's currently done, which makes no sense. Okay, because a barcode is useless unless whatever is reading the barcode knows what the barcode is. And where does the data from knowing what the barcode is come from? That's a whole different application, right? So, great, I could stick a barcode or a QR code on all my reels. What is it scanning? What for? Right? Where does the data come from that? Do I have to sit there and type all of the data in? Do I have to go to all my suppliers and get all of their barcode information? And half the time the barcodes are not supplier barcodes, they're manufacturer barcodes. Half the stuff I get from LCSC doesn't, like when you scan their barcode, it doesn't even work, right? And why would I even want to scan it? For what purpose? Sam knows what's in every rack, okay? When I take something out of a rack, why do I need to scan it? When I'm going to put something in a rack, if I have a new item that I've never had before, how is scanning it going to help Sam if Sam doesn't know what it is? You know what I mean? Like, any type of scanning and optical stuff requires a database at the back end that has all the data already in it. I don't want to do that. I've already got my parts for that. Like, if that's the solution I wanted, I wouldn't have done any of this stuff. I've got my parts. I want something from my reel. Okay, I'm just going to go to my parts and type something in. Like, I need it to tell me where I've got it. Like, where is this item? How many of them have I got? Right? Where are they on the shelf? Where do I need to put it back? Right? Like, I can say to Sam, because there's stacks of stuff I haven't even shown yet. Like, stacks of stuff. Like, I can say to Sam, hey Sam, like, locate whatever. Let's say I've got a reel in my hand, I want to put it back on the shelf, and it's 100k resistors, right? Identifier of a reel type as opposed to a slot. But it doesn't know what that reel type is. That means I have to scan it first before I put it in, the very first time, which removes the whole point of SAM, and SAM doesn't know what it is. So I have to say, hey Sam, so I put a reel in, and Sam goes, oh, a new reel. What is it? I tell him what it is, and then Sam says, okay, can you now scan it? So when I scan it, so then Sam knows that that scan is associated with that part, right? Why? Why does the scan need to happen? What does the scan give me at the end? What can I do with the scan that I can't do with Sam right now? Right? So the reason I held off showing a lot about Sam, and I haven't been showing the development of Sam, is because I was looking at productizing it, yes. But the amount of work in productizing it is huge, because the scope's much bigger than just what I'm showing right now. Anyway, I can say to Sam, hey Sam, I've got 0402 100k resistors. Where I want to put this back, where does it go? And it'll go and look for all of the places that there are 100k 0402 resistors and flash the spot that's the empty spot where it came from. And I just walk and put it back. Like, why do I need to, what's scanning it going to do? Yeah, I can already tell Sam. If I say to Sam, goodbye Sam, Sam stops listening. He won't do anything until I say hi Sam again. So yeah, it's a wake and a sleep word, but Sam is still running all the time. Yeah, I can mute Sam, no problem. When you BMW and brick, a series of cars with botched, yeah. Well, I can always go back and reflash them if I do that, right? But they back themselves up. Unless there's a unique RFD from the manufacturer for the reel. But I'm not. Hey, Clive, I'm not going to knock over a reel of components. That's the whole point. How am I going to? Someone also mentioned that to me. It's on a shelf. Like, and even if I did that, okay. So they're modular. If I'm knocking over a rack, that's it. There are 10 items in it, right? They're modular. They're not attached to each other on purpose. So let's say I pick this up and tip it upside down, right? Okay, and I need to put them back in. How's scanning going to help me? I say, hey Sam, here's my reel. Where does my 100k resistors go? And it flashes, and I put it in. Where does this go? Flashes, and I put it in, right? Or I can just say, I can make Sam do anything. I can say, Sam, load the rack. And it can say to me, put blah, blah, blah in position 1. Put blah, blah, blah in position 2. Like, Sam's got all the data. I don't have to identify the reel. That's the point. With my system right now, I don't have to identify the reel. I identify a reel by looking at it. I look at a reel and go, oh, that's 100k 0402 resistor. I know what it is. Why do I need to scan the reel to know what it is? I can see what it is, right? So Sam can tell me where to put it. Sam knows that. I could walk up, I could scan the reel, and then Sam could flash, and I could put it in. Sure. But I can already do that by talking to Sam, right? And all this information is on the touchscreen, right? I can go and click a button on the touchscreen to look at all my reels. I can see all my data on the touchscreen. I can view them by type of data. I could look at them via the reels. I can click on something on the touchscreen and have it flash automatically. Well, that's faster than scanning. Anyway. Well, it doesn't say reel 2, deck 2 because it doesn't know the reel racks are independent. They're not. There's no way of identifying what rack number this is on purpose. No, I'm not trying to defend. I'm just like, I'm getting, yeah. I don't mind the feedback, but it's all thinking. Like, I'm trying to deliberately not do this the way industry has already done it. And many of the suggestions I'm getting are to do it the way industry does it. Right? Like, I could have just done that ages ago if I wanted to go that direction. Not enough processing power for good speech, I/O. That's why I mentioned running the endpoint on a desktop. No, well, I can do that right now. I mean, I've got a Mac Mini. One of my options was to use the Mac Mini instead of the Pi, right? But that's a very expensive solution, right? That, and I don't mind the voice. I don't care about the voice. I can understand it. It probably, from an audible point of view, is much clearer for me when I'm listening to it than via a video or via a stream. Would it be nice if I was using a natural voice? Sure, but SBC's right. But that's what a Raspberry Pi is, a single board computer. I don't understand. I mean, it's a Pi 4 with 4 gig of RAM. I mean, unless you're talking about getting an Intel NUC or something, well, I wouldn't do that. I just wouldn't be putting a Windows box there. If I'm not using a Pi, I'll be using a Mac. The system assumes you never make an error when speaking to Sam. Right, well, so I'm not saying I'm productizing this, but Sam, it doesn't assume I never make a mistake when speaking to Sam. Sam's right now pretty clever. Like, the reason Sam talks back to me is so I can hear that Sam knows and understands what I'm saying, right? So one of the reasons I'm not looking at putting all my effort into productizing it right now is there is a lot of issues involved with doing that. And I've got a lot of other product ideas of things I want to do with Sam that are beyond the real racks. And I mean, I'd need to bring on a team of people to take Sam to market, right? Right now, Sam is just for me, and it needs to do just what I need it to do, right? Sam is not the secret project I was working on. That is still on a shelf, untouched. Sorry, Shaq. If you give Sam control of the music in your office, you could pause on Hey Sam. Yeah, I don't even know how I'd get Sam to do that, but I don't want Sam to pause on that. Sam's pretty good with noise, by the way. I'm using the Bluetooth on the Raspberry Pi. Yeah, I didn't add an ESP32 on that side. There's no point. That's actually much more problematic to do than just using the Bluetooth. Bluetooth on the Pi is fine. Could also use Siri. Right, well, I could use, I don't need to use Siri, I could just use the text-to-speech on the Mac, right, which is a much nicer sounding voice, for sure. But, hang on, like this. What is it?
Hello, unexpected maker.
Right? I mean, that's Siri's, or the Mac's voice, and I can change it, all different types of voices and stuff. I mean, it's a much more natural voice. Can you change the name of Sam to Jarvis? No, I don't want it. It's not Jarvis. What kind of mic are you using? So I've got a new mic coming from Seed Studio. It shipped yesterday. I've got one of their new USB mic array mics just to try it out. So microphones are interesting, and it's the most problematic part on the Raspberry Pi because audio on Linux sucks. It's really, really bad. Like it's terrible. It's one of the biggest issues with Linux still. Like going really mainstream as a desktop computer is audio support is just a nightmare. Ask the A word to tell the S word to ask Sam where my resistors are. Yeah. Humans are not good at doing the same thing dozens of times over. But I don't understand what you mean by humans are not good at doing the same thing. Like, I don't see why that's a problem with what I'm doing. Like, the assumption is that I'm going to be talking to Sam all the time about, you know, this. Like, I'm not. Like, I don't change my reels that often. When I change my reels, I might need 1 reel or 2 reels. Like, you know, apart from the initial loadout. And the initial loadout I can do from the touch interface and not have to use my words at all, right? Like, my touch interface shows me all of my search terms. I can add new ones in. Like, I could do the whole thing from the touch screen and never talk to Sam if I want to. But I don't want to have to go to the touch screen all the time to do it, which is why I've got Sam. So I can talk to Sam from kind of anywhere in my office. Yeah, the problem with Google TTS or with AWS Poly or whatever else is it's got to go to the internet to do it. And so that takes time, latency, bandwidth, and eventually costs. So, Sam does connect to the net right now. Sam does its speech to text via the internet. It doesn't do it locally because there's no library that does it locally well enough right now. The only thing that's close is Mozilla Deep Speech, and it's not good enough yet. And I'd have to train it from scratch. So the problem is, as I mentioned on my video, is that electronics terms are not mainstream dialogue. So pretty much all of the speech engines, so the speech to text engines out there that have built up really big libraries of words and stuff to be able to translate are missing stacks of words from the electronics language. Like try getting nanofarad or picofarad recognized by any of these engines, right? SAM is not an acronym. Hey Fred, come on mate, just relax. Thanks for Quixotic Geek. Right, but it's not costing me anything for that. If I use something like AWS Poly for voice coming back, for instance, well, there's a free amount that I get, and then it starts costing money. And it's not about the money; it's about that shoehorns Sam in as a potential future product to a paid service, which I'm not willing to do right now. That's all. And I'm quite happy with the way it sounds. If only I could teach Sam to solder, that'd be really good. Or pack my bags. There is an acronym for SAM, but I'm not going to say what it is yet. Because I don't know if I like it. Okay, let's move on. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to be talking so much about SAM. I just wanted to show that update stuff. Because that's really cool. We should talk about TinyDIGIT. So this is where the chat's going to get really interesting. How the input data used to train a system like this is called a corpus. We have a bit problem that the corpus used to train things like Alexa is biased to men. Sure. Well, that's what I called it SAM because of the C64 SAM, which was awesome. That's interesting, Quixotic Geek. I didn't realise that. No, we're not doing mailbag. We're going to talk about this. Ooh, out of focus. So it's upside down because that's the only way I can get the breadboard sitting here right now. So I got myself, I should move this over and show you, a special programmer. I got this from Tindy. I'll show you the link shortly. Just needs a personality. Well, Sam's already got a personality, by the way. Sam can tell jokes and do all sorts of stuff, but I don't really show that on my videos because that's just a side effect of me being a programmer, right? These breadboards are great. And once again, big thank you to Rob for, he sent me this and a smaller one. So this is a one's got a name on the back. It doesn't. It's by a guy called Paul Evans, and it's a UPDI programmer, but it's something quite special. Let me just get some more light. That's really, I didn't turn my lights on this morning. No wonder it seems dark in here. One moment, please. Watch it light up. You ready? There we go. I forgot to do that. So this board is special. There are plenty of UPDI programmers out there. So obviously I'm programming a Tiny 1606, which uses the single pin for updating, right? But this has a CP2105 on it. And a CP2105 is a serial to UART, but it has 2 serial endpoints. So it enumerates as 2 USBs. Yeah, I know you've got yours, but they're not available yet, are they, Braden? So yeah, I needed a, like I've already had a way of programming. The problem with the Tiny is you get no serial output from it, not from the UPDI. So if you want to get serial out from this, you need to connect the serial pins to another serial UART. So this has it both. Basically, I've got the UDPI programming from here, and this here is a second USB. Hey Death Shaker. So what this lets me do is flash this board through one port and read the serial output through the other port at the same time. Not that Arduino can do that. Awesome. Look forward to seeing what your new boards, Braden. So this has improved things a lot. I bought this from TinyDIGIT, came from the UK. Took a while to get here, unfortunately. But now that it's here, I'm using this to do this. So I've got a Tiny Pico that is connected to this display via I2C. Now, right now, this won't do the demo that I want it to do, so I'm going to show you what I posted on Twitter for those that didn't see it before I get into the shenanigans. Let me just close that, get rid of all these web browsers. So this is what I posted on Twitter. Let's do it again for those that missed it. Now what's exciting about this is that message was sent to that digit by I2C from the Tiny Pico, and all the logic to display that message is in the TinyDIGIT, right? It just received a string or an array of char via I2C via the Tiny Pico, and it displayed it, right? Image result as the limit as 2 address lengths, 7 and 10 bits. I'm not sure what you mean by image result, whatever. Yeah, I understand how many addresses there are, but yeah, we'll get to addresses. Oh, right, you were talking to Clive. Yeah, yeah, it's technically, it's 128 normally, because it's normally 7-bit addresses, but that's a theoretical limit, because generally you know, anyone that tries to get more than 60 or 80 devices on a chain starts getting degradation anyway, right? So like it's, but, so my original idea was, okay, let's get on to that wagon loads. My original idea was that these will be chainable, but no, what's the display resolution is 5x7. So it's 5 digits across by 7 down, which is the minimum size you need for a standard font. Like I know you can get smaller, but for a readable font that's got pretty much the whole character set. Hey, Dustin, just in time. That's got the whole character set. You need 5x7, which is what this is. Now, my original idea with this was to make them chainable. And that's where I'm stuck. And I've been stuck for a while. But before we get on to all the ways I can chain them, before everyone starts jumping in, I decided, I'm still interested in seeing how to chain them, and I'll show you what I've been experimenting with. But I decided to see if, hey, what's if these digits could just be a standalone digit? Like, I just displayed a whole message there on one digit. And, you know, the digit's quite small. Like, it's, you know, this is big. Let me just go back here. This is the development board. This is my development board for the digit, right? My aim is that the actual PCB for the digit will be only 20% bigger than the actual LED space. No headers or anything else like that. It'd be really, really small. So I wanted to see if I could make a single digit really versatile. And I have. So this code, although it's very early, it's not done yet. Like it's really, really early. But this code has the ability to receive commands via I2C and to receive messages. So I can, for instance, send it a command that says, I want you to go into scroll left mode, or scroll right, or scroll up, scroll down mode, or go into single digit at a time mode. I want you to go into rainbow color mode, or I want you to set the foreground color to this color, or the background color to this color, right? And then it can be sent information and it can just display it on the screen. So I've solved doing a versatile digit, right? Can you use half duplex serial? Well, hang on. Just wait a second, Dishibu. Right, hang on. So I've solved that part, although I have to pad out the library, right? And I'm working on that. So like you can see, you know, this is my TinyDIGIT code. This is my TinyPico code. It's early days yet, but I'm building a whole library of commands, right? So I've got base commands, which are, you know, stop, start. Types of commands are coming in, and then color commands are set the foreground, background, rainbow, command animations, fading, scrolling, per character stuff. And I'm slowly fleshing out all this code, right? Which takes us back to, it'd still be cool if they were chainable, right? So I've started looking at the serial side. What I've implemented is, and this is only half implemented at the moment, but it doesn't help yet, is at the very start of the code, it says, if I don't have an address, how about using MIDI commands? Because I don't even know what they are. I don't work with MIDI, but I'm limited on how much memory I've got. Like, all this stuff needs to be bytes, like individual bytes. Anyway, we'll discuss that in a moment. So right now what happens is when the digit boots up, it displays a question mark on the screen. You can see the question mark. And it says if I don't have... Yeah, I know what DMX is. I'm using serial pass-through. No, I'm not using serial pass-through. Just wait, folks. What I'm doing is I'm using the same pins for I2C as serial. I'm not initializing the I2C until I'm using it for serial at the start. I can do either, but they're the I2C pins. So even on the TinyPico, on the I2C pins here, I'm sending serial data to start with. And I'm basically saying, if I don't have an address, sit there and listen for serial. And the idea is that the master will send the address that I'm supposed to be via serial. I will then set the address and then continue on. I'll then set myself up for I2C and I become I2C. And I'll write that address to NVS, non-volatile storage. And so when it boots up, it says, hey, Do I have an address in NVS? Yes, I do. This is my address. If I don't, go into serial mode and wait, right? The problem is I've got all this working. So if you look over here, this screen here is my Tiny Pico. This screen here is my digit. And if I reset the Tiny Pico, it sends a message. Let me just clear this. I send a message and it's received a 0. So I send a 0 at this time. I'm timestamping it in milliseconds. I send the 0, it gets the 0, it sends a 0 back. I receive the 0 and it tells me, I'm doing this at 300 baud, right? And it tells me that the trip took 66 milliseconds. Now my idea was that if I had 5 digits chained and I send the messages out, each one would, when they get it and send it back, there would be longer time it takes to send it. That was my theory. But it turns out me making the wires twice as long. So these are my wires on purpose. See how wide they are? How long they are? I can take these out and make them twice as long, and it makes no difference to how long the message takes to send and receive. I was hoping that 5 digits would all reply, like each digit along the chain would take slightly longer to reply. But that doesn't seem to be the case. So right now I'm kind of stuck on how I solve automatic addressing. Hey Colin, I'm stuck on how I would solve automatic addressing without user intervention. Right, resistance is low for a wire, but I can't mess with the resistance on these lines because that will affect I2C. It won't work properly anymore. For serial, it's fine, but for I2C, it's a problem. Relatively. Right, I understand that I was still hoping at 300 baud that there would be a measurable difference, but there doesn't seem to be. No, I'm talking about I2C, chained. Well, bus, yes. The same way you would chain any I2C devices. Okay? It's not into a device and then out of the device. They're all on the same bus, tapping into it. So I'm talking about, yeah, it's actual I2C. It's using the wire protocol to talk to each other. Catch you later, Quixotic Geek. Have a good sleep. It's not the baud rate here, it's the speed of light. I know, but the slower I make the baud rate, the longer this time is. Like if I set this to 11:5200, the trip time is either 0 or 1. Right? It's much faster still. The communication, but I understand the speed of light's the same. But there is a difference. But yeah, anyway. It was something I was trying, right? And it doesn't work. There you go. No surprises there. So I'm at a point where I don't know how I'm going to solve automatic addressing. 1 nanosecond a foot. Yeah. Could you have the primary digit probe for a chained digit? No. Hi, Gene. Well, there is no primary digit. There can't be a primary digit because I don't have control over which order someone's going to connect them, right? So right now, if I send a message, if I have 2 of them, like if I make this one and put them next to each other and put them both on that same I2C bus and send a message, they both get the same message if they've both got the same address, right? And there is no way for them to get a message without having an address. And there's no way this can send to it without knowing the address to send to it. So if they both by default have address of 1 when they come factory, right? Then they'll both get the same message and there's no way to distinguish between the 2 of them. One of these can't know about any other one because they're on a bus. Factory set unique serial in Flash. I don't believe so, Mike. I don't believe it. The Tinys have a unique serial. They don't have any radios or connectivity. There's no MAC address or anything that I know of. If you use serial pass-through, I can't use serial pass-through because these are I2C. It's an I2C bus. The fact that I'm using it for serial to start with doesn't matter. It's an I2C bus, and I can't change the electronics on it to be a pass-through serial because it's I2C. I'm using serial as an experiment, but this has to be an I2C device, not a serial device. Right? Does that make sense? Daisy chain them, problem solve. I don't understand. Okay, let's forget that we ever spoke about serial. These are I2C devices. Is one button allowed? Right, well, my original idea was to put a button on each one, and you'd be able to set the address of each one. The user would do that one time when they plug it all in. And I've got a nice way to do that. I2C sucks. I2C might suck, but it's the way that everyone connects basic devices to their microcontrollers, right? I mean, the fact is, I get a digit, and I put a stemmer connector on each end, one in, one out, and this becomes a really versatile thing that anyone can plug into any of their Adafruit products or into a Feather S2 or whatever else really easily. No, it can't be CAN bus. I2C, folks. Has to be I2C. I can't shift the data through. That's not how I2C works. You can't daisy chain I2C. Firstly, a Tiny can't be I2C master and slave at the same time. Secondly, so that's not an option. Secondly, that's not how I2C works. So how would someone know which order to? That means I'd have to have two digits. One is a master digit, one is a slave digit. And if someone wants to put two of them together, they must buy a master and a slave and put the master in the front. You know, understand? Like, that doesn't make sense. Can you free up a digital I/O to be the next device enabled? No, because I've got 4 wires. This has to work off 4 wires. SDA, SCL, VDD, and ground. I have 4 wires, that is all. I2C. I don't know how to be any clearer than that. This has to be solved with those 4 wires. Well, I just said that to you, but that means I need 2 unique types of digits, or the user has to have a button on them to select if it's the master or not. And if that's the case, that means they all have a button on them. So if they've all got a button on them, I'll use the button and I'll still keep them all I2C. Each wire can't come from the previous device if it's I2C. Can't happen, folks. If it's I2C and I've got 5 digits, then the Tiny Pico can talk to each individual digit and say, display this, display this, display this. That's I2C. If I make one go to the next, go to the next, go to the next, that is not I2C. That is something different, and that means that a user can't take any digit and put them in any order. Can I spell it out for people who don't understand it? Sure. I2C. Tiny Dancer. I love that song. Really great song. It's a bus. I2C is a bus. Could a digit query the bus for other I2C devices and pick a unique address? No, because they'd all do it at the same time. How could they do? That's the problem. And that would mean that the device has to be a master and a slave, and it can't do that. Do you understand? Like, if they all go into master mode and query the bus, then there's no addresses on the bus. is not tokenering. That is correct. Logic level is with one master and all digits are slaves. I don't understand how that's going to help me. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. That doesn't help me identify. That doesn't help me tell each digit what it is and then have the master, like the TinyDIGIT, know what it is. And if you're talking about the master being one of the digits, I already said that's not the solution I want. That means I need to make 2 unique devices, or make each device be able to go into master mode or slave mode, which if that's the case, I don't need that either, because I can just use the button for people to set up their addresses. Photochromax, they could, but again, they don't know what order they're in. That won't help the master know the actual order. They need to know the order. It's not enough to say, I need a device. I can make them all assign devices right now. I can say, I've got no device, give me a device. It can go to the master, get a number, and come back. That's great. But what order? They need to be in sequential order. How do I make them sequential order? That's the problem. Token passing would be great, but that doesn't work on a bus. I don't have a pair of pins. Guys, you're not listening. I've got 4 wires. That's it. 2 digital wires, which have to be I2C. I can do any other protocol on them to start with, but they're on a bus. And VDD and ground. That's it. Because if it's not I2C, then how are people going to connect to it? If I'm not doing I2C, well, I might as well just leave them as pin headers like this and let people wire them up however they want. And that's an ugly product. The whole point was to make an I2C device that's really simple, that anyone can plug in and talk I2C to it. That was the whole point of the product. That's the product requirement. Vibration sensor. Okay, right. Power switch needs to enable the next one. Right. Well, that's a button. Whether it's hey, Alex. Right. So my original idea was there'll be a button on the digit, and when you plug it in, if it's got no ID, it has a question mark. Right. Let's say you got 5 plugged in. They all come up with question marks. Yeah. And then the user, one at a time, clicks the button in the order that the digits are. And they all register themselves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then they're done, right? That was my original idea. The user would have to click the ID, click the button to set each ID. So they'd click a button, it would go to the master and say, I've been clicked, what's my ID? Your ID, 1, bang, thank you. And a 1 appears on the screen, and the next one they click, 2, 3, 4, right? That was my original idea that I spoke about months ago, and I got slammed. Oh no, you can do it automatically, do it automatically, do it automatically. You can auto-assign them. There's all these ways of doing it, right? Well, I've been looking and I can't find one. Does it support hot plug? Plug in a digit, it registers and gets an address. I could do that, sure, but if the user doesn't do that, then it won't work, then it'll break, right? Requiring the user to do that is not good, and you should not hot plug I2C. It's as simple as that. Like, hot plugging devices that are powered is not a good idea, really. You don't want to do it. Especially with LEDs, you get inrush and stuff. Yeah. Can you power up 1 digit and assign the address, enable power to the next one? Well, that's the same thing, Brian, that Inbound Fog just said. It's not... Anything like that that requires the user to do that is not a good user experience. I'm looking for a good user experience. Each digit can power the next one, but they don't know the order they're in. How does 1 digit know it's the first one to not pass on the second one? Like, the first digit would have to know which one it is to do that. Daisy. The I2C is the only signal from the master, but the display chain has one additional line. No, I can't do that. There's only there's no 5 pins. It's a 4-pin connector, Helmet. There is no extra wire. If I have to get the user to add an extra wire on top of the I2C, then the product's failed. Then I won't do I2C. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for those that aren't aware what I'm talking about a stemmer connector, right? One of these. You plug it in, right? It's a 4-pin connector, and you plug it into the digit, and that's your I2C device. That's it. That's all that's going to get connected to it. This connector. One digit, yes, one connector in and one connector out. If they're going to be chained, well, there'll be one connector in and one connector out anyway, because someone might want to chain a temperature sensor after this. So this is the way, hang on. I get that not all of you like play around with Adafruit stuff, so let me just so Adafruit have a whole range of like SparkFun call it Quick and Adafruit call it Stemmer, but they're basically they're JST, they're not PH. They're SH 4-pin connectors, and they chain them. Like here. All of their products are designed to be chained. So you got a connector goes into your item, and then there's a connector here goes into your item, the connector goes into your item, and you can just chain up all these I2C devices, right? A screen and a sensor and a this and a that and whatever, right? There's a whole ecosystem about them. So I want this to be compatible with that. I don't want to have a pin header on it that people have to wire up DuPont cables and stuff like that. I want it to, if they're going to be chainable, they have to be chainable via I2C like this. Right? That's my requirement for the product. Oh wow, so much typing went past. Peter, but the first chip can't detect and then forwards to the next chip because they're on a bus. They're on a bus. There is no first chip, second chip. They all get the messages at the same time. They all reply. They don't know where they are on the bus. Right, every device needs to have other connections, Johnny, if you want to make them auto-connect. But apparently there's ways of doing it with just 2 wires, apparently. No, it's got to be I2C, otherwise it's not compatible to Shipu with all of the like, if it's not I2C, then I won't do any of these connector stuff. It's got to be able to plug in like this. It's got to be an I2C device with an address that it can talk to I2C, otherwise it's all pointless. Have to redesign your product switching ICs if you want address assignment automatically. Well, no, I could just stick a little 1-wire EEPROM on them or something that has a unique address. Like, you can get chips that have unique addresses, right? But they still won't know the order. That's not going to help. And switching ICs won't help either. JTAX, like, yeah, ICs has nothing to do with this. Okay, it's I2C that's the thing here. Doesn't the first one know it's the first if all others are not yet powered? No, the first one doesn't know it's the first. The master might know there's only one on there, but the first one doesn't know it's the first. The first one doesn't know anything. It's just connected to the bus. It doesn't know anything. It doesn't know it's the first one till it gets its ID. Right, I don't want to use an I2C multiplexer because that implies that they're not on a bus. An I2C multiplexer means that I can have 10 I2C devices connected to 10 sets of 2 wires. I don't want that. I want one chainable set of wires. Right, it works with the WS, like it works with addressable LEDs because the addressable LEDs are connected one to the next. They're not on a bus. I2C is a bus, folks. A bus means they're all connected at the same time. They're all tapped into the bus. They're not one to the next. So there's a lot of stuff to read. Everyone keeps asking the same question about the power stuff. See you, Peter. You off to sleep? I don't think I will find a solution to this problem. That's the thing. I've been looking for a long time now. Jay, that's actually not correct about the conflicting I2C address arrangements. There's stacks of stuff. And a lot of these devices can have their addresses changed on the back of the hardware. Like there are jumpers and stuff to do. I mean, that's not the issue. And there won't be a fixed digit address because they need to be dynamic. Use the solder bridges to set unique addresses. Yeah, but I don't want to do that. I don't want someone to have to permanently solder these boards, right? And to use solder bridges to be able to, well, someone wants to chain 10 of them. That means they need to have 10 different addresses solderable, which means, like, yeah, that's not an option either. And I don't want to stick a dip switches on there and have people have to manually set the dip switches per thing. It's not an AT-Tiny85, it's a 1606, but yeah. How do you make persistent if it's random? Once it's been assigned address, it can write it to the NVS, and then it knows from then onwards. But then if someone unplugs them and plugs them back in a different order, they need to be changeable again. I can't stick FETs on the bus because that's going to affect I2C. I can't put anything on the bus that's going to mess with the bus. I2C multiplexers can disable. Yeah. If those digits have YWO I2C buses, I don't know what that is. Jay, what's YWO I2C buses? And these chips don't have. These chips are, I mean, they're using a tiny 1606. Okay, it's software I2C. So I'm still scrolling through. I had to scroll back. There's lots of @me's. Right, but again, how would they rotor even if I put FETs on the clock line, how would it know which one it's supposed to turn off and on? They'd all turn off because no digit knows it's the first one unless the user is going to intervention with it, right? Hey, Mats. Oh, read back, mate. They use cabling. Whether they're physically plugging in together or whether there's a cable in between, it doesn't matter. They're still using I2C to connect to each other. Alexander, it's got to be I2C. I'm not interested in respinning it to not be I squared C, because the whole point is it's got to be I squared C. That is what I'm trying. I've already made the I squared C digit. It's a digit that works with I squared C, right? The question is whether that can be chainable or not. The reason I made this work as a completely standalone digit that can display messages and stuff is because I don't think it's going to be chainable as displays. But I squared C is what it needs to be. If it's any other protocol, it's not going to work with anything. When I say it's not going to work with anything, it's going to require something custom connection when there's already a standard out there. I want this to work with the standard. Loop it back to itself. You can connect it from the bus. So I'm still reading. I can't disconnect. They're on a bus. I can't disconnect the next one. There is no next one. Stuff on a bus doesn't know about any other stuff on a bus. On a bus means they're not passing to the next one. That's chained. On a bus means that there is no cutting off the next one because they're not connected to each other. They're connected to the bus. I don't have two I squared C interfaces. I can only make one I squared C interface on each chip. The chip can't be a slave and a master at the same time. And all my research shows that anyone that was suggesting that it can has never got it working. Use the switch. Well, I know I've already got it solved with a button. I know I do, but I'm trying to find a... It'd be really nice if they just all plugged in and they all just worked, right? That would be nice. I'm still... if I could solve that, then I will. Wheels on the bus go round and round. That's really funny. Hey, Pierre. Yeah, I don't want to put dip switches. That's worse than a button press. Oh, wow, it just all jumped. Okay, I've just missed a whole bunch of people's messages. Damn. Okay. Who dip switch is solderable by setting on the boards? I'm not angry. I'm not angry. It's just that it's like I go, it must be I squared C, and then people are telling me all about these other ways that I could do it that isn't I squared C. And I go, but it's got to be I squared C. Oh, but. I'm not angry. I'm not angry. It's just sometimes I'm a little amazed how... yeah. I understand that I can interrupt the signals, but anything I use to interrupt the signaling is going to potentially affect the I squared C bus. And there could be other things on the bus that are not my digits afterwards that could get affected by me messing with the I squared C bus. Does that make sense? Like, what's if someone gets a micro and plugs in 5 digits and then plugs in a temperature sensor and then plugs in a... I don't know, some other sensor. And those sensors don't work because these digits are messing with this. Firstly, they're connecting and disconnecting the clock lines to, or power to prevent whatever happening, which also prevents those digits from working, the sensors from working. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, the messing with the I squared C bus to solve this prevents these things from being chainable with other devices. And the whole point is I want them chainable with other devices. It should work like any other I squared C device does on a bus. Hey Paul, what do you mean have I explained to people how I want it to work? No, I can only do one I2C bus on this chip at a time, Pierre. No, but an EEPROM won't work, Scott, because it still can't do the order. It might be able to give something a unique ID, but it doesn't know its order. If it doesn't know its order, then it can't send a string to it and display it in the correct order. Rhoda, I understand that I can, okay, going back, yes, they can all disconnect the clock out, so only the first one gets the info until it gets a digit, and then it opens up the next one. What happens to devices that aren't digits on the chain? Then the requirement would be that every device has to, anyone that's using these digits has to put them at the end of their chain. Like that's a customer support nightmare. Plus, disabling the clock and enabling it again, having the ability to do that and not affect other things in the chain is a problem, I believe. Could be a problem. And it's the same with if I disable the power instead of the clock. I'm still disabling all the other devices on the chain. Right, I can sequence them power, right? So when they plugged in and power comes on, each one is delayed. But again, what happens with devices at the end of the chain? Handsy, but the problem with the random stuff is it still won't do it in order. It's got to be in order. Yeah, I've said I2C a lot, haven't I? So I'm just reading through everyone. My God, there's so much. I might have to skip ahead. Yeah, okay. I had to jump. I'm so far behind now in the chat. Sorry. I'm going to. Okay. A lot of I2C devices have upgrades as part of the address for truthful addressing. Yeah, you don't like I2C, I can tell. Yeah, I don't need two buttons. I just need the one button on the back. Unsolvable with the spec. Yeah, I don't want to put switches on the back. Switches are, yeah. I think I can do a much nicer user experience than switches if the user has to intervene with something. The glitch in the I2C matrix. Yeah, I2C had a C like SPI, or then it's SPI. Basically. This is what my maths class called a hard problem. Disconnecting the clock is within the spec, yes. The issue, again, is what happens to the devices at the end. Right? And so, if you think about it, how? So here's the problem. Like, you think about digits in isolation. So let's say I've got a tiny Pico, I've got 5 digits, and I've got a temperature sensor at the end. So the code starts up and it tries to initialize the temperature sensor, and it can't because it's not there. And the code fails because the digits haven't assigned themselves yet. And so that requires the user to set their code up in a certain way. Like, if you're going to put stuff on the chain and you're going to use the digits, you must initialize this before this, right? Well, that's like shooting myself in the foot. Because you know what? People don't read. And users don't do what they're told. And someone's going to do it not the way that they're told to, and it's not going to work. And then there's going to be a problem, and they're going to complain. And if it's I2C device, but I say to you, hey, here's these I2C devices that you can chain, but you have to do them in a certain way that breaks all the rules you know about I2C to get it to work, well then, that's a fail, right? The code has to initialize the digits anyway, but what's if the temperature sensor is initialized beforehand? Like, I2C, these devices and modules, and the way they're sold as an ecosystem, is designed that you can plug, unless there's a conflicting address, you can plug them in any order you want, however you want, and run your code, and it works, right? And my solution, doing the cut clock thing, would completely break that. It's not... Well, it is a fail, because from what I've been learning, like with my Feather S2 and with and Adafruit and the number of new people that are coming into the ESP32 ecosystem and everything else because of my Feather S2, what I've learned is that I cannot have any expectations that anyone understands anything that they're doing when they take one of my Feather S2s bought from Adafruit and want to use them with the way they normally work with, let's say they've already got some other feathers and whatever else, right? Like, my expectation would be it's a Feather S2, it's an ESP32, they haven't used an ESP32 before, they'd do some learning or they'd accept that it might be different to what they're used to because it's a different chip, right? But the truth is, a very large portion of people assume it's just going to work the same as all their other boards do, and the second anything is different about it, then they're stuck and they complain because it's not. There is no read the manual though, Bruce, not for this stuff. That's what I'm being taught, and whether it's right or wrong, that's the reality. The reality is, a very large portion of people, especially when they're starting out, that are using the Adafruit ecosystem, expect that things will just plug in and work because they're told it will just plug in and work. And if they have to problem solve why they don't, fail. To start with, right? Whether good or bad. So for me to ship something that has, hey, this works like everything else works except for this list of caveats, that's going to be a problem. I know it's going to be a problem. Right? The amount of support questions I already answer about stuff for the Feather S2 and CircuitPython already that to me are, fundamental basic stuff just shows me that I can't assume anything. Right, we'll use I2C, but it's going to be, you can only plug them in like this. Well, then that's not the same. I prefer the button with menu over auto addressing anyway, because the button can do much more, like change the brightness. Well, no, will you be able to change? Well, no, I wouldn't put functionality like that into the button. There would be no requirement for user interaction with the button once it's set up. It's all done. That'll be all done through code, right? I don't want to make a menu on these digits where you push the button several times to make it change a menu. Like, it's not a good interface. No, the button would just be for the addressing. I wouldn't do it for anything else. Up to couple is on display, tell each other which display is on the left or the right. No, why wouldn't up to coupler help? An up to coupler just connects two wires together without them physically connecting, but Right, but that's right now, that's not a requirement cable tie for any other devices. Right? So again, that's a customer support issue. Right, Chris, but you're at the different end of the spectrum to the target market that would be buying these digits. Or that a large portion of the target market that would be buying these digits. They've got to be that simple. Catch you later, Andy. It's assigned by the client delay. But they can't arrange them in the right order because they've got to disconnect them then. They can't rearrange them once they're connected. That doesn't help, Hansy. Like having them randomly just get assigned IDs and then have the user unplug them and remember which ID was which and plug them back in again. That's a terrible user experience. Well, the caveat that there's 1 or 2 additional wires required. Yeah, because that's not how these modules work. If it's this, oh, but you need to connect a couple of other wires. No, that's a fail. Like, it's a fail in terms of making it an I2C product. An I2C product just works like that. It might have other functionality that you might want to tap into for other things. Like you can see there's broken out pins, but that's different. You don't have to do any of that. It'll work just from those 4 wires. And that's what it has to be. Just those 4 wires. So my plan doesn't just ask, what is my plan? Well, my plan was, can I make a digit a useful thing just by itself without chaining digits together? And I've proven that I have. I can do full messages and stuff. Like, it's actually, I personally think, like, having a single digit display a message like this is pretty cool. Like, that in itself could be quite useful. But there'll be an expectation by people that they can chain them. Because I2C is chainable. How many digits we're talking about, Ev? I don't know. It would be up to the user to decide. Like, I could put a limit on, in the library, of how many digits, I guess. Without fancy RF signal propagation voodoo. Well, that's what I was kind of hoping I could do with the serial stuff, but clearly not. Right, so Adafruit do have that, but that requires the users to, you can use my digits, but you also have to use this. And if you don't use this, then you can't use my digits. Right? Could be a solution to use a small rotary switch. Right, but that's the same hexadecimal rotary switch or dip switches or just the user button. Right? Right, but the user has to buy those modules. That's the problem. Like, so you can only use the modules if you buy these as well. Doesn't sound like a good deal. Sam says, I'll probably cut this. I'm a hobbyist and don't really have time to learn everything, but I'd hook a few of these up and make a clock. Be fine with the switch. Sure. I don't think the switch is terrible, but it'd be really nice if I could solve it without a switch. Like, that would be nice. How many GPI pins are left over? Stacks, but that doesn't matter. Like, I can't use any of them. I've got the 4 pins, 4 wires, that's it. Anything, if it's got to be more than 4 wires to do it, then it needs a completely separate connector, it needs completely separate cables, it's not compatible, and it can't be plugged in to the quick connectors, right? Like, this has to work off a quick connector, or a stemmer connector, right? If it doesn't work off a stemmer connector, then I won't have those connectors at all, and I can use as many pins as I want. Right? I mean, if the requirement is to chain them up, you need to connect 7 DuPont cables to each one. That's fine, but it's no longer an I2C device, right? It's either got to work off a stemmer connector, just a stemmer connector, or then that's off the table completely and it works some other way. Yeah, I don't know. Each can have one I2C in, 2 out. I don't know what 1 in, 2 out will give me, because that won't help. Because what's if users plug in the wrong thing into the wrong thing? And yeah, again, it's got to be the same way these all work. I keep pointing at the screen, but it's not on the screen right now. Mike's back. Have I solved it? No. Chained digits would be best attached to each other as a string of digits. Data in, data out, no problems. Well, it is a problem because it doesn't work on the I2C bus. It can't be plugged into a quick connector. The display has to talk back to the controller just to get only for the assignment of IDs, really. Other than that, it doesn't have to. But the bus has to be able to talk back because other devices do have to talk back. Well, I can't put them on an SPI bus because, well, I can, but then it won't plug into these connectors. Right, so anything other than I2C can't work off that. If it can't work off that, then it's a completely different product. And it's going to be way less useful. Sorry, James. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's becoming a bit rinse and repeat. Bigger it, put an ESP32 on each. That won't help me. Firstly, an ESP32 can't be an I2C slave, not unless I just bit bang something. Jarek, that's how I2C kind of works, but it's not pass-through. It's on a bus. I can't do pass-through because then no one can attach anything at the other end of it. So if I had 2 buses, one would be an I2C bus and one would not be. One would be a TinyDIGIT bus. I know what you're saying. So 1 in, 2 out. But every digit would have 1 in and 2 out. And what's if the user plugs the wrong thing into the wrong thing? It's going to happen. No, it'll be one product, not a master version and a non-master version. If it was a master version and a non-master version, then this wouldn't be a problem. But that's, again, not a good solution. Like, there shouldn't be 2 different types. I want to buy 1 master and 5 non-masters, and you know what I mean? Yeah, no, they've all got to be just 1 digit plugged in any order. That's what I just said, cable tie, but that's still Yeah. It's not ideal. Ethernet. Oh, Johnny. Okay. Wow. Yeah. This went around in circles more than I expected it to, I have to say. Yeah. Flogging a horse that died years ago. Well, it was people on the stream here a couple of months ago when I built my first TinyDIGIT that suggested that this was solvable via I2C. Sell the displays as a CTF. As a what? Buy a USB cable for the webcam. Yeah, I've actually got another one somewhere. If I solve the address problem, I win a Sam. That's really funny. Oh, hello, Mark. What's your 2 cents, Mark? You missed nothing. Absolutely. No, it can't be a ring. It's a bus. Can I measure the power draw? I don't know, but how would that help though? If it was solvable, something other than I2C. There are 2-wire protocols. Okay, just hear me out. There are 2-wire protocols out there that are designed to solve this. That's the point. I don't have to use I2C to solve it. I just have to use I2C for the communication to it once it's solved. Does that make sense? But anyway, that's why I'm playing right now with serial. Like, it can be serial until it's solved and then convert to I2C. Not a problem. As long as it happens quickly. Well, I can't run Ring on my bus until that happens, Chris, not when there's other I2C devices on there that don't have that technology to do that. Possibly, Rhoda. It really depends on how long it takes to do it, right? And, well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. What I was interested in was to see if I could find out how to do auto addressing with 2 wires. And if I could solve auto addressing with 2 wires, then I would tackle how that would work to keep I2C compatibility, right? But it seems there's no way of tackling with 2 wires, tackling the auto assignment. I'm talking about as a protocol. I'm not talking about adding extra hardware to turn on and off clock and stuff. I'm talking about just as a software protocol, could I solve the addressing? I was looking at, I've got an end requirement, which is all I2C, but I was looking to see, is there a way to solve it with 2 wires first? So the pins on the TinyDIGIT can be programmed to every option. Well, yes, I guess, yes. No, they're actual I2C addresses. Well, it doesn't matter whether it's an I2C address or a logical address, but the idea is that if it was 5 digits, then I could send 5 unique messages to each digit. Okay? They could also be logical, where there are 5 digits with logical ID, as long as the first one has an I2C address, and I could send to the first one, well, I could send to all of them. Okay, they could all have the same I2C address. It doesn't matter. They can all have the same I2C address. Let's forget about I2C. They're on I2C bus, they all have address of 3. So when I send a message that says display unexpected maker, they all get the same message. That's fine. But they still need to know which order they're in. Digit 1, digit 2, digit 3, digit 4, so they can display in the right order. That could be logical. That could have nothing to do with I2C. That's fine. But they still have to have a way of doing that. Dave is your fat lady singing. See you later, Dave. Take care. No, it can't be run as a store forward buffer because it still happens over I2C. It's still an I2C protocol sending the message, and they're receiving the messages as I2C. Catch you later, Jaco. Yeah, we already spoke about the solder jumpers. That's not an option. There are other ways I can deal with that if it's a physical switch setting, physical address setting. That's fine. Eight more subs to be 1/2 a devil. 333. Everyone go sub to Embedded Hobbyist. Uh-oh, Hugo. Mark's he's gonna say put an STM32 on it. Yeah, no one's gonna stick 32 digits on a chain because they can't power them, guys. There's a realistic limit to how much power you can pull through the bus anyway. I mentioned that on my video. You're not going to be able to power more than 8 of them, 5 or 8 of them, via the power line from the MCU anyway. Maybe not even that many. The problem with that, Mark, is then you can't have any I2C devices at the end of the chain. Any non-digits at the end of the chain. So the requirement then would be that everyone has to put these displays at the end, which is counterintuitive to how it all works. Hey Jonathan, yeah, that's been suggested a few times already. Okay, we're going back to the same conversation again, folks. Okay. Wow, I actually thought I was going to be doing some coding today. Then my requirements are too high. Possibly. I was just revisiting it. I never said my requirement is that these need to be chainable. That's why I made them not chainable. As in, that's why I made them versatile without being chained. I think the 1 port in and 2 out is a good solution. Well, if they don't send the I2C assignment address command, then it won't work. But that's the same with any... That'll be part of the library, right? That's like saying, hey, I want to use this sensor, but I've installed the library for the sensor, but I haven't initialized it, and it's not working, right? That's the same thing. Like you install the library to use the displays, and the library takes care of all that for you, right? If you don't do that, well, it's not going to work. That's the same with any code. I don't know why you're talking optos, wagon loads. Optos aren't needed, but right. That's the same thing of having the first one. They have two different buses, sure. Asked and answered, Chris, about the serial. User will load the MC bus down. I need one extra wire between the digits. Sure, one wire, great. No longer I2C, no longer stemmer, no longer plugs into this ecosystem. Right, so you'd want the displays further up, and if they're further up the chain and you want to put other things at the end of it, then they all have to be I2C and they can't be a separate bus. Yeah, okay. I2C is not pass-through, it's a bus. It's not what I want. I2C is a bus. There could be other non-digits on the I2C bus that have to operate correctly. Therefore, these digits have to be true I2C devices that work with I2C. So it's not pass-through. I2C is not pass-through. JTEX. Are you on my Discord? You put there. Right, bus equals all devices connected together in no particular order. And it's the order that's the issue. Because then they're not... Oh, okay, sorry, Hellman, already discussed that. It's not about having all the digits having a unique ID, Mark. A unique ID doesn't help. That's easy. What order are they in? Right? The master, the tiny pico in this case, needs to know the order of the digits. If it doesn't know the order, then a unique ID is irrelevant. Getting a unique ID on them all is easy. That's the easy part. How do I know what the order of those IDs are? Yeah, we spoke about that, Jonathan. A bus doesn't equal order. Okay. Been going for a while, 2.5 hours. Sorry, folks. I know you all found this frustrating. I've got to stop doing this. But I want to discuss stuff with you guys and girls. Like, yeah. Anyway. Right, the problem then is I don't have room for all of those on here. The digit's tiny. I don't have room to stick 4 connectors. Because I also have to stick headers for I2C as well for those people that want to use the devices but without a stemmer connector. Like my Tiny Pico has no stemmer connector, so people would connect that to just using wires. So I don't have room to stick 2 versions of every type. Like, the digit's tiny. I don't even have room to stick 4 stemmer connectors. Double-decker buses are great. Sure. Sorry, Jonathan. We've discussed all different ways of doing it. But it seems like a button is the easiest way. I can't add an extra wire. No. So that's also been discussed. It's I squared C. Data, clock, power, ground. Can I modulate something? Not without affecting all the other devices on the chain. Yeah, what'd you find out with that? Oh no, I think you solved it, Jay. You solved it during the stream. That's funny. Elon Musk tried doing what I'm trying to do and it didn't work and it blew it up. NDX brands, yeah, again, that's been discussed. That's an option. It's not a great option though, because there could be other devices on the chain that's going to mess with that aren't digits. No, a single button would be the best, Scott. But yes, I've got an idea where the user just pushes a button. They don't have to adjust anything. They just push a button. So I've already got a solution for that. Display unique character on each digit upon registration, and user types these characters in order in this setup code, which resolves the order. That's interesting, Aaron. I mean, it's a bit clunky for the user, but as a concept, that's actually quite interesting. You have to guarantee that each device displays an absolutely unique character. That could be a problem. 100% unique, but yeah. Yeah, I can accept it can't work, Mark. I already thought it can't work, which is why I made my digit a self-sufficient digit. So it doesn't need it to be chained to be able to display messages. That's why I did that. I think it's quite cool. But if it makes... The 1606 has a unique internal ID? Does it really? Okay. Well, that's great. I can grab that. Okay. That doesn't guarantee it's going to allow me to generate a unique character from it, digit. But yes, okay, cool. No, I can't turn the I2C bus on and off like that. It'll affect anything else on the chain. Chris, yeah, the only issue with that is they could both do it at the same time. But yes, like they're no guarantee which order they come in at, or, but yes, they could get stuck in a bit of a loop for a while until they sort themselves out. But yes, I could do that. But that only works... Yeah, I mean, that's... Okay, yeah. Right, a unique ID on the device still doesn't allow me to set the order, but yeah, I still have to find a solution for that. Yeah, I'd like to see if I can get them all using the same I2C address and just with a logical number. It has a UDID. That's great. That doesn't help the order, Chris. Yeah, my fallback is a button. Hansy, that's fine, but you know, there's other ideas surfacing now, right? There's a post inside the topic that has some code examples to solve this problem. Okay, JTAC says that on Discord. Why I2C Arduino slaves self-defining addresses solved. Here we go. Self-defining addresses, wait. They've got to be ordered. I can do self-defining addresses, that's easy. It's got to be, I need to know the order of them. Yeah, does that make sense? Like, so, right, so Modbus can handle this. Modbus is designed to be able to do auto addressing, but I can't run Modbus on the I2C protocol when there's other I2C devices there. Yeah, where am I looking? A dip switch, no. Master. Specific data will vary depending on which slave it's sending to. So self-defined is addressing depending on what order the slave is. Right, okay. Scrolling down. Tell me what number the answer is. JTAX, what number comment is the answer? So electrically you can't change the I2C signal. That's right. There's code in number 5, right, but is that... Right, okay. So on the master, let's wait, I'll look at the slave. Get address, so it reads the EEPROM. Right, okay, that's just grabbing what was stored. Where's it signing the address? Check new slave. It sends the address. Okay. But I don't see how what this does. I don't see how what this does. Is anyone... So request new slave to respond. So it requests from someone that's got an address of 1, but they've all got an address of 1 to start with. So when it initializes itself, it gets the address, and if it reads 0, it sets it as 1. So they all get 0, and they all have 1, which means they all reply to this, and they get sent an ID back in whatever order, and that's their number. But how is that in order? I don't see how this is in order. because they all when they start up, they get told to get their address. And if they've all got nothing in there, they all get set to 1, right? Slave address is 1, address not assigned, then make this function execute when ping request for master. That's an interesting way to do it, Aaron. I'll definitely add that to my list. But it'd still be nice if there was another way to do it. No, I can't plug them one at a time, James. That's really not a good thing to do. No, assigning the address is easy, Arnold. I need to know the order of the digits. I need to know which one is first, which one is second, which one is third, which one is fourth. So this, they all at the same time. If 5 are powered up and they've got no addresses, all 5. See you, Carsten. Have a good sleep. They all say, "Hey, I need an address." And there's no guarantee what order they come in at. They'll all get assigned a new address one at a time, but not in order. Yeah, I don't want to do 2 stemmer connectors per device if I can avoid it. So if I don't know the order, then this doesn't help. Yeah, this part's easy. Giving each one an address if it doesn't have one is easy. It says here, the only thing the code hardware is missing is the use of an Arduino pin to turn on and off the I2 clock to the next slave, probably via logic gate. This is done since uninitialized slave must be looked at separately as to not share new addresses with each other. So slave 4 will cut off the connection from the I2 So this still requires an extra pin to do this. Right? So this isn't a solution. Because there could be other I2C devices on the chain, Jonathan, that are past it, that aren't digits, that can't be turned off, that might be initialized before the digits in code and will fail, and then the code will stop running. I can't control how the user writes their code, and I shouldn't have to control. There shouldn't be a requirement on the user to lay their code out in a specific way to make an I2C device work the way they expect it to work. I don't want to respin and own the bus at power up, Alexander, because that then affects any other devices on the chain. Right, cable tie, that's what Aaron was suggesting. Yeah, well, it'd be closer to master. It'd be in order of, yeah, like, you know, Tiny Pico A, B. I don't understand. The bus can't be in it. No, Tiny Pico has to be first because it's the I2C master. So anything's connected to it, whether it's left or right doesn't matter. It's the way letters are drawn. Then let's try it. But I'd rather a button than having the user run their code, see what it is, go back, change their code, and then run it again. I feel like a button would be better. There are solutions in chat, but right. Okay. So build one, Alex. It's a little I2C digit. That's just a development board for it. They're little digits, RGB digits. Could you measure the response difference in nanoseconds? Not really, unless what I'm trying to do on the serial bus right now. Right, it's a physical arrangement order, obviously, because it's got to display the word in the correct order. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to try the button press stuff. How can 60 people watching not keep liking? Yeah, well, I think more people are frustrated than are liking it. Okay, I think we're going to end this. I need another coffee. Definitely need another coffee. And I'm going to keep hacking away at some code. And I might simulate a button press thing to set it. Yeah. How about send a string of numbers to the digits and then assign it? I don't understand what that means. That won't do anything. Touchpad. If the display... What? My method requires no extra wires and no extra code. If the displays are physically next to each other, they know which display is on the left. You're talking about using the power method? So which way is your way? Wagon loads? But that doesn't help me if I don't know the orders. I don't understand what... You keep talking about optocouplers. I don't understand how an optocoupler fits in it. You're talking about wires connected to each other. Or are you talking about IR? You got to stop calling them optocouplers. You mean IR, a sender and a receiver on the digits. Is that what you're talking about? That's not an optocoupler. Optocoupler uses IR, but an optocoupler is not that. Is that what you're talking about? Two visual things next to each other? Wagon loads? Because if that's what you're talking about, that won't work. Because they're physically in order. They're not physically next to each other. I can't control how people lay them out. Yeah, that won't work. Thanks. Because, yeah, there could be a cable in between, and one could be here and one could be over there, hanging on a tree, where the IR is not even pointing at each other. Yeah, no, they're yep, sorry. It's got to be a works in every scenario case. I've stopped moving. Yeah, okay. Well, no, an optocoupler has something inside that. That's technically a communication device, Chris. An optocoupler is two wires joined together via IR for an on and off situation. One type of optocoupler has IR inside it. Two bits of IR does not make an optocoupler, because they could be used for all sorts of other things that aren't an optocoupler, like a switch of something else. Anyway, I can't really use a power drop in the supply voltage because one device won't know what the drop is compared to another device to know what number it is. It might see a drop. How does it know what the drop is? And then how would that drop differ based on what they're plugging it into and how many other things are being powered, and you know what I mean? And the drop could be, that's not a way of doing it. That still won't tell me the order. Hello, Italy. Poles, yeah. Magic smoke signals. Maybe the device could be sold as a random display generator, where it doesn't matter what you send to it, it displays it in random order, and that's the product. And then I don't need to know the order. Oh, genius! Solved. Solved it. I don't object having the user typing in a string. I would still like to solve it where the user doesn't have to do that. I feel like possibly. That's a possible way of doing it, yeah. If it did that automatically when you power it up, but then how would you reset it to say, hey, clear it? What if you pull it apart and put it back together again in a different order? How would it know to clear its assignment? The software would have to tell it to do that, so you'd have to go and change your code, recompile, and re-upload to tell the devices to clear themselves to be able to then do that again. Random message puzzle generator. Well, then the button could be used to reset that ID so they can do it again. Optocouplers. But SPI isn't the best solution because then it doesn't connect to the stemmer connectors. And SPI doesn't work because then each digit needs its own unique CE line. So 8 digits requires the SPI bus and 8 IO, and they don't get chained together. They need to go individually to each item. That is absolutely not a solution. SPI is the worst option for this. Sorry, Arnold. It's the worst option. Yeah, we should try using I2C. That might be a solution. Right, but then it's... Anyway. How much does each one cost? I don't know yet. I haven't got that far. Wagon loads. Yeah, I could use the button to clear the address and redo it again. Okay. Lots to think about. Wow, 3 hours. Holy moly. Been 3 hours? Yeah. Okay. They said in there they've solved it any way you want. These companies spend a lot of money on dev, I think. Yeah, okay. All good. I'm okay that it can't be done. I said that from the start. Solder jumpers on the back of the digit is not a good option though, because that means they always have to be put together in that order. And you can't have enough solder jumpers to do that. And I don't want... Yeah, anyway, it's... Yeah, no, there's other ways other than solder jumpers. Solder jumpers are the worst option. Asking someone to get to a soldering iron and physically do something to their boards to set them permanently is not an option that I would like for these. That's fine for a single sensor, not good for a bunch of these things. What's the microcontroller name? Not the development board name. It's a Tiny 1606 I'm using. When can we buy one? Never at this rate. Okay, I'm going. Thanks, everyone. Don't forget to like if you feel like it. Thanks again, Johnny, if you're still around, for your super chat. Really appreciate it. And yeah, maybe by next stream I'll have a solution. Maybe I won't. We'll see. But I'm sure we'll work something out. You're stuck on the soldier jumper thing. It's not a solution for what I want. Hybotics, but thanks. It's not. There are much better things I can put on there than solder jumpers. Like a dip switch is better because you can change it. Anyway. Yeah. Bye, everyone. Take care.